So, I mean, Harry's a really kind of tragic character. I spent most of the film just feeling really, really sad for him. I mean, what was it about him that that appealed to you?
Well, I think the opportunity to be in a film like this and to play such a complicated character, you know, Harry goes through a lot, but as an acting challenge, it was a huge challenge, and it was it was the biggest arc I've ever had to do. And it's like, I think for Harry, it's not even just from A to B, it's like from A to B to C to D to E to F, you know, like he goes through so much. And it was all about making sure that arc was clear, not just within the acting part of it, but even like a makeup process, you know, like the costumes and all of that. You have to honor everything, and you can't just treat one thing as like this is the moment, because he goes through so much in this film, and it all has to make sense.
There's a much bigger sense of the world existing beyond Spider-Man, all the characters. I mean, was that part of your mission statement to kind of establish the expanded universe as it's...
There is the idea that there's other movies like Sinister Six and Venom that are going to emerge from this universe, and we wanted to acknowledge and build the foundation for that. But there's also this idea about, well, for Peter Parker, that I wanted to put him into as many situations as possible to push the boundaries of his character and the emotional extremes of his character. I just wanted to see him, you know, I wanted to put him in as complicated a position as I possibly could.
And the relationship with Peter and Harry is, you sort of have to establish it pretty quickly. It feels like there's a lot of history there between you guys. How did you find working with Andrew to develop that?
You know, we spent some time hanging out with each other and getting to know each other, and, you know, that kind of thing. But also it was important to spend some time apart, because they've been apart for so long. So it was like, it's a balance of like creating a close relationship with someone really fast, but then taking distance from it so that you can have this relationship of kind of long lost friends on the screen.
Yeah, there's something about Spider-Man in particular that I think is really interesting. There is a lot of the conflicts that Peter Parker has emerge from pre-existing relationships, like best friends, or my best friend's dad is this way, like, and these relationships that are very familiar to all of us get pushed and expanded to this kind of global scale. You know what I mean? Suddenly your best friend is your greatest mortal enemy. And what's interesting about it is that we can all understand the tension that comes sometimes from friendships, sometimes from relationships, and that is put into sort of an extreme place in this universe.
The scene with you and Chris Cooper as Norman is such a sort of key one, because you have to establish a huge history and a very upsetting relationship. What was that scene like to film?
And Chris Cooper's amazing. And, you know, actually I made my first ever movie with Chris Cooper. It was this John Sayles movie called Amigo that we shot in the Philippines. And I had so much respect for him at the time. Like, he was already one of my favorite actors, and I remember there was like this time we were in the Philippines and we were like drinking coffee, and I was asking him questions about acting, and then he disappeared from my life and he wasn't there anymore. And then the next time I saw him was on the Spider-Man set, where like I was Harry Osborn and he was my dad, and I hadn't seen him, I wasn't supposed to see him for a while, and, you know, I kind of had this expectation, and in a weird way, like, the relationship I already had with Chris like fueled the relationship in this movie. But, you know, that scene, I just think he's so amazing in that scene, and I got to have a front row seat for it all day long.
And you talked about sort of introducing the future characters. Do you have sort of solid plans to introduce, because Venom we still haven't seen, right? I mean, would that be something you might look at for film 3?
Yeah, there's different plans in place to sort of work out that universe over a period of time. It's just tricky, you got to tease it.